There's a lot of videos out there on YouTube that talk about how people that are getting ready to retire aren't really ready, especially Gen X. So, why is that? And are you going to fall into that category? Stick around and find out. Hi, I'm Rich.
And I'm Robbie, and you found our channel before it's too late.
We're just trying to share our life with you as we prepare to retire. And what I found out lately is there's a lot of things that a lot of us are missing in preparation. If you get anything out of this video, it'd be great if you'd hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when we put out new stuff. And leave us a comment because I'm sure we're going to miss some stuff as we're talking about it today. One of the big things that people think about in retirement or as you're heading to retirement is, do I have enough money? And unfortunately for a lot of Gen Xers, the answer is probably no. And why is that?
One of the biggest reasons that Gen Xers don't feel comfortable going into retirement is because of insufficient savings. I did see a study here recently that talked about 35% of Gen Xers have less than $10,000 in a savings account, and 18% of Gen Xers have zero savings. That's terrible.
Yeah, and why is that? Yeah, we spent some time thinking about it, and it's out there on other people's videos too. Our parents, a lot of our parents anyway, had jobs where they had a pension. And during our working years, pensions have kind of gone to the wayside. I mean, there's still some jobs out there like public service jobs and teachers that have pensions, but the vast majority of us have had to either save on our own or have some sort of company sponsored savings plan or 401k. And the problem with the 401k is that it requires some self-discipline to keep putting into it.
Right.
Even when you might be feeling a pinch, it's pretty easy to stop contributing to the 401k and then harder to start back up again.
Right.
And many of us during our working career, we've gone through a couple of really big downturns, you know, the dot-com bust of the late 90s,
Right.
and then what they call the Great Recession of like 2008, 2009. Those took a big hit on many families. They caused layoffs and they caused, reductions in pay.
Right.
So people just weren't saving in this voluntary 401k like they should have been. And now people like us are creeping up on retirement, and it's staring us in the face that we might not have enough money.
Another thing that goes along with having insufficient savings, I think a lot of us got ourselves into trouble with debt, whether that was student loan debts, personal loans, credit card usage.
And almost everybody has a mortgage, at least at some point in their life. And some of those were taken out at a time when the mortgage rates were high,
right,
and they've just kind of stuck with them. But even so, most of us, we still even have a mortgage, so we know that going into retirement. But if you have a lot of other debt, it really does hang heavy at this time in your life when you're looking ahead to what's retirement going to look like.
Right.
And because of those two major economic downturns that I talked about, wages haven't gone up as fast as maybe the inflation has gone up, as the cost of living has gone up. So it's been really hard to save aggressively and try to catch up in those 401k plans that your business might be offering. And also during especially that last one in the late 2000s, a lot of people were laid off or at least had to take a serious reduction in pay, which again, really makes it hard to save. Also, the 401k plans were new to us. They came out in the late 70s and 80s and really picked up steam in the 90s when most of us were really getting into the job market, and we didn't know what to think.
Right.
The average American didn't know much about investing, and this was putting your toe into the unknown, right? The volatile stock market, and mutual funds, stocks, bonds. Most of us don't know much about that. And, again, we're not financial advisors. We don't know much about it. We've got some people that help us.
I think another thing about our generation, Generation X, is that we are kind of stuck in that place of supporting our aging parents financially and also supporting children. Now, fortunately, Rich and I, our parents are great. They're doing just fine. They don't need us, and our children are doing fine. But I do think that that is very typical of Generation X, that you're kind of stuck in that place of helping both generations before and after you.
Yeah, so much so that they've got a name for it. It's called the sandwich generation,
Yeah.
because you've got that kind of debt on top
Yep.
and debt on bottom that you're trying to make up for as you're preparing for your life of retirement.
Mm-hmm.
Many of us Gen Xers are counting on Social Security to help us as we get older. The problem is there's some questions about the solvency of Social Security. And I think the tendency is for us to believe that it's really going to fill in a bunch of gaps.
Right. Wasn't the original plan for Social Security to provide like 40% of your income in retirement? I think a lot of people think that that's going to take care of them.
Right. And again, it was never designed to be a replacement for your income.
Mm-hmm.
And, 40% of your retirement or 40% of your income pre-retirement is better than nothing.
Right.
But again, there is some question out there whether Social Security is actually going to make it that long. Another thing even if you have taken advantage of the 401ks, there's this market instability.
Yeah.
Right? Your 401ks are all tied to the stock market.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's been several times just during our lifetime where the stock market's taken a big dive. So the smart thing to do is kind of have a balanced approach, have some stuff in the market, but also have some savings that you can tap into for emergency reasons as well.
And if Social Security is there, then that'll just be an added extra little bonus.
Right. Hopefully something that'll get you from 1 month to the next.
Right.
And when it comes right down to it, why is this a bigger problem for us than it has been in the past? I mean, we already talked about the lack of pensions, but really it comes down to we're living longer than ever.
Right, for sure.
I mean, our parents are living longer, which burdens Social Security, and it goes to show why the pension systems that companies set up in the 60s and 70s are starting to really fail, because they're running out of money because people are living longer. And now we are probably the healthiest generation going into retirement. So we're going to live a long time, and that increases the risk. So again, it's really important that we're paying attention to preparing ourselves for the financial implications of a longer life. And that doesn't even take into account rising healthcare costs and the cost of long-term care should you need that.
Right. It's not all bad, though, for Generation X. I mean, we are the early Gen X, and so we are nearing that age of retirement. The later Gen Xers, they still have a lot of time, maybe 10, 15 years to prepare better financially for their retirement, and it can be done.
Yeah, so make sure if you're with a company that provides that 401k, especially one that has a match, that you're at least getting all the free money from your company. I mean, if you're only 45 years old, you may have, 15, 20 years before you retire. And take it from me, I didn't even start putting into a 401k until my early 40s, and mine's looking really good. So it can be done, but it might take some sacrifice now for some stability in the future.
One thing that Rich and I have worked hard at these past several years is getting rid of all debt other than our house mortgage. And we have been able to accomplish that. So that's definitely one thing that you can do looking forward, is work hard at getting that debt gone prior to retirement.
Yeah, and our mortgage rate is really low.
Yeah.
So, our financial guy, which is going to be another point, has said that's probably not something I need to worry about paying off, because if I have that money that I would spend on paying off my mortgage, it'll do better in the market these days than it would, just paying down my mortgage. So while that sounds counterintuitive, I'm going with it, I guess.
I think you just have to definitely look at what your interest rate is.
Right. And, there is another thing that could be kind of painful for some. If you're in the 40s and 50s and you're worried about what your financial future is going to look like, you might want to consider downsizing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to get out of that 4-bedroom home now that your kids are gone, and find something smaller and get your payments down. Or maybe even get out of a payment altogether so that you can focus on paying off other debt, and you won't have a mortgage, at least going into retirement. That everybody says you can't lose on real estate, but if you're not going to have enough money to retire, then you kind of have lost by
Right.
keeping all your money in a home that you probably don't need anymore.
Mm-hmm. Lastly, I think it's important that you seek out good financial advice. As Rich and I have mentioned before, we do have a financial advisor. I know some people think that maybe that's lazy. You can do it yourself. And if you can, that's great. For me personally, I need that financial advisor because I trust him and he gives me that confidence. He gives us that confidence that we need in knowing whether or not we are prepared to retire.
Again, good news is there's still time. We gave you some advice on what you need to do to get yourself ready. I hope you do that. We're actually looking at what the timeline is going to look like for us. We're hoping that we're ready, barring any unforeseen circumstance. I think we probably are. Mm-hmm. But we'd like to know where you're at, what you think, what we've missed. Please leave us some comments. And again, hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. We're going to keep putting out content like this so that we can learn from you and maybe you get some advice from us. So thanks for watching our channel, and God bless.